right into this world all alone.
Grow a dick and don't say no to the club.
You little bastard. What if Opie said no to the club? I tell you what would have happened. Clay would have grabbed his 9mm, pulled the trigger about 11 episodes early.
And Tig wouldn't have had to do his dirty work later on at the end of season 1. Welcome back, guys. Fog Entertainment. We're here for our first Fury Fed after Morrow Mondays. It feels great saying that. Morrow Mondays. Teller Tuesdays. It's going to be my favourite 2 days of the week going forward, apart from the fact I normally work Monday and Tuesday. But other than that, it's going to be good days.
It's great. It's fun. Tabby doozy.
And we're here to discuss something that happens in the premiere of season 1, and that is with Clay wanting Opie to come along with them so they can basically blow the shit out of some Mexicans. We gotta get our guns back and send a message.
Opie will lean whatever way we want him to lean.
Opie's leaning right these two. No, I don't like people leaning to the right, Jackson. Opie will lean whatever way we want him to lean. So Clay obviously wants Opie to come with the club. Opie's like, he's in the club but kinda not in the club. How would you describe Opie's situation with the club?
He's like a Poundland nomad within Sam Crow.
And he has to ask his wife if he's allowed to sit at the table.
Yeah, I don't really understand Opie at this point. Like, I know they're trying to play this like he's stuck in between two worlds, but see, in this world, you can't be.
Riding through this world, down, down, stuck in two places, down, down.
You can't be half in, half out. And Opie, he does say yes to the club, but the end result here is basically what this video is. Like, he kind of jobs him out anyway.
Well, he says he can't really say no to the club or else Clay will chop off both our dicks to Jackson. But Jackson then...
Clay does a lot of that.
Jackson then tells Opie not to worry, take his child to the hospital and get like a medical record to see that his child got hurt, and that'll get Clay off their back. So while... But it's weird because like when Jax originally asks Opie, when he first visits him during like Opie's break at work, Opie kind of like he's kind of like trying to distance himself away from the club, and then Jackson asks him, "Are you saying no to the club?" But then when he's saying yes to the club, Jackson's like, "Nah, don't worry, don't come." So it's like Jackson kind of giving out mixed messages here. But yeah, what if it was Opie? What if Opie from this point? What if Opie said, "Look, I'm no doing it. I spent 5 years inside. I'm not going back to TJ." And yeah, he basically just says, "I'm handing my patch. I'm riding.
I'm going to be a lumberjack for the next 15 years."
And yeah, and he walked away for the club. Well, the first question is, would there have been any punishment, or do you think can you walk away from the club if you just don't want it anymore? I guess you are allowed to just go. If you decide to leave on your terms, do you have to get the ink removed? Is the ink only for?
Well, you do, of course you do. But I think the key part of this is, I think there wouldn't have been
I don't think you should. I think if you leave on your own accord, I think you should be able to keep the ink. I think it's only if you get kicked out you should have to lose the ink. I don't think it'd be fair if Opie.
Well, that guy in season 4 in that Arizona chart, he left. The club thought he left on his own accord, but he got the ink and all, wiped it.
Does that seem fair to you?
It's an MC, mate.
Opie done 5 years for them.
Yeah, but I think that's why Clay and the gang would let him walk free, because he did 5 years, and it's not like he's leaving here. It looked like he may rat. He did but again, later on in the season, he did 5 years. Why would he rat now? Tig says he doesn't want to do 5 more.
Well, that's a fair fucking point. Like,
I think it's a fair point.
Five is shite.
No, he said 25 more. And when he says that, he's like, Jax looks at him like, "That was a fucking good one, you bastard."
I've no complaints, Tig. Yeah, so first of all, I think the club.
The clay. The clay is set in motion.
I think the club would have allowed Opie to leave, and that kind of changes everything. If Opie had left the club, not only would Opie probably be alive to this day, Donna would be alive, potentially Penny would be alive. How would things have played out differently with Jax, with Opie no longer in the club? It's I don't know. It's what do you think?
Maybe Opie not being in the club, or maybe made Jax leave.
Maybe, but
I don't know.
Maybe.
There's a lot. You got to put a fact in. If Opie leaves, a lot of votes that were close, like a 6-5er or a 4-5er.
Swing votes.
Fucking the double booking of the votes.
Could have had the new president.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta think of that stuff.
Voter fraud.
Like if Opie left, like the drugs wouldn't have passed because he had. If you go with me, Jax, Miles will go with Opie. That's his sponsor. I remember when Opie voted yes for the drugs. Piney gave him the look of, he grew a dick.
Ungrow that dick, son. Right. So what happens? Right. Opie says no to the club here. What plays it?
If he says no to them,
obviously he leaves. You think he gets his ink removed?
He leaves the club. He gets his ink removed, and he's happy to do his own thing.
He lives happily ever after. Well, he lives depressed ever after with Donna and shite dinners.
That's it. Like
financially, what kind of situation would I have been in? A shit one.
A shit one. Shoestring.
I mean, you can imagine. Yeah, all those dinners where you see Gemma cooking all the great food, and then you've got Donna probably with a microwavable fucking frozen peas or something. You know, it wouldn't be the same.
I know. Sweet corn on the cob, beer. Opie's probably drinking their own piss that's been stored up in balls.
Piney's piss? Piney's piss. Get it out of your local fucking...
Double P, brother. Anyway, that's what would have happened. Opie would have just been able to... He actually would have had a better life if he just said no to them, rather than trying to be loyal to the end and getting his wife killed and then himself.
Yep, and his kids grew up with it. Fucking grandma, Winston.
What was it Gemma said to Donna? Sam Crow is the glue that will always be there. It's the glue you don't fucking want.
It's super glue, but it's not so super. It's like fucking...
It's pish. No Gorilla Glue, like it's...
No, it's not.
Brit stick. It's pish. Anyway, Opie, he'd have left. That's it for the first Fairy Fed. We'll be back with more. Next week, we've got Mondays again. Morrow Mondays. Teller Tuesdays in between now and then. Give them something that they're going to see between now and then. Hit me with it.
You're going to get... character spotlight. I'm gonna pick someone to fucking basically talk shit about for 5 minutes. Mate, 5 facts you didn't know about Clay Morrow. That'll be coming.
Why not 10? I did 10 about Chibs. Clay gets 5.
Well, you know what? Clay can get 5 more in season 2. Alright? How's that? Right. How's those apples?
How's those prospects?
5 new. Hey, maybe he's already done 5. Maybe he doesn't want to do another 25 facts more, you know?
And on that note, that's it. Peace. Woo! Fog Entertainment back again with another video, and we are going to be looking at another Theory video today, and it is, was Clay wrong to order the hit on Opie? In episode 11 of season 1, of course, him and Tiger at the end of the episode discussing it. Opie has turned on us. This has got to happen, Clay. Iconic lines, iconic scene. But of course, we put it to a poll, and what you guys have thought and what you guys have said is 193% of yous voted, and let's reveal those numbers. So we've got 96% saying yes, Clay was wrong to order the hit on Opie. Then we've got 4% that said no, he was correct, therefore. And we also had 6 likes on the post, and we love that, guys. And we also love when you comment on our post, because it gives us a bit of interaction here on Fog Entertainment. And Fog Entertainment is about to hit the big leagues. Well, let's look at the comments. Tampa DJ says he thought he was a rat. Rats get dealt with. He wasn't right, but he wasn't wrong. I can see that logic, to be perfectly honest, because yes, he wasn't right, but he wasn't wrong. Like, if they genuinely believed he was a rat, then wiping him out was the best solution. But they should have got more proof, you know, because it just looked more obvious that Opie had been set up rather than he was a rat, in my opinion. And was it a case of they knew they couldn't bring it to the table because Piney and Jax are there, and they just knew they couldn't do that? Like, say it was Chibs or, you know, like Juice or someone like that, and, you know, there ain't like family at the table, so to speak. You try to tell me Clay wouldn't have just brought it to the table? I think he would have. I think there was that sort of hang with it. And then Shades115 says, what? No devil's advocate on this one? Because normally I'd maybe put up 3 options. But in this one, we've just put up the 2 options, which was kind of funny. I kind of like that for the devil Shades, whatever he's called, 115. Shout out to you, son. But in terms of was Clay correct or was he wrong? I think he is wrong to order the hit. Like, yeah, I mean, it's the right intentions, right? Also, I mean, look at the way it played out. Donna ends up getting killed. Opie doesn't even get killed. And then again, but if Opie ended up dying, at least you could say, well, he's in that life. But then, I mean, you could argue it almost would have been, I know, like, an innocent woman get killed, but fuck's sake, Opie would have got jobbed it, you know? It would have like felt more tragic for Opie. A guy that actually didn't rat and get killed. You know, I'm trying to think of a TV show where someone didn't rat and they end up getting killed because they thought they ratted. Can't actually think of one, if I'm being honest. But I mean, I think it would have been pretty insane if that turned out to happen. But yeah, of course, in my opinion, Clay and Tig were wrong, and the vote shows that. From their point of view, they thought Opie was a rat, so therefore they thought they were doing the right thing, protecting the club, protecting Bobby. But for all us other people out there, we think they were doing wrong compared to them thinking right. I mean, and also if you just remember, if you're watching it, Tig just seems very quick on the ball. Oh, we've got to do this. We've got to get this job done here. You know, like there wasn't like any like question from him and Clay and Tig. Like they just fucking went ahead and did it. You know, I'm not saying like they don't feel bad. Like Tig, you know, obviously Opie saved his life. Tig thought about it and shit like that, but they didn't really ever think about it. Like, what if he's not a rat? What about his kids? You know, because they didn't really care, guys, because our money greedy bastards, Clay and Tig, we want the guns, we want the money, we don't want rats in our table, brother. And that's exactly what happened. You got no rats at your table because Opie wasn't a rat. And then when Opie comes in, Paddy's like, see, proves he wasn't a rat. So, anyway, brilliant stuff. Anyway, guys, season 1, we're wrapping it up here with the Fairy Fids. Make sure you check out the season finale review. And until next time, that is it for this video. I love doing these Fids, man. Sons of Anarchy, FTW. Till next time, though, peace. Woo! Like, comment, subscribe. Fog Entertainment back again with another video, and this is a Fairy Fid on Sons of Anarchy, episode 12 of season 1, and it is Should Hale Have Told Unser Sooner about still setting up Opie. And we had an outstanding 118 votes. Wasn't quite as many as Jack sleeping with Wendy, but I felt like that was always going to get more votes than this wee question. But we did have a whoop. This is probably the highest percentage we've ever had. We did King of the Mayans, of course. Easy's been taking on a bunch of people probably no one knows. But here, with 98% voting yes and only 2% voting no. I mean, that's a massive gap. Like, I mean, that is pretty as big as it's going to get, apart from 99 to 1 or 100 to 0. But it's very rare that you're actually going to get 100 to 0 unless, I don't know what would be 100 to 0. Is water wet? Of course, people would be like, aye, see that water, big man? That water is very, very wet. But yeah, this is obviously referring to when Hale kind of knows about it. He overhears Stall like talking to one of her agents, and he's like, "Oh shit, they've bugged Opie's car. They've bugged his phone. Keep a tail on him, brother." And Hale's like listening at the door. He's like, "Ah, yeah, Stall. What freaky shit did we do in that room?" And then he's like, "Oh fuck, I am a police officer. I've got a day stuff here." And then he like backs away from the door, and then Hale like, he kind of doesn't do anything, and then like he finally tells Unser on the day. In episode 12, he's like, "I've got some information. I'd be breaking my civic duty as a police officer if I told you, but if I don't tell you, someone could get seriously hurt." And then Unser basically says, "That badge, it's a paperweight, not even real." I mean, Unser's like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking member of this. I'm a member of the Sons, Davey." You know, so I always think that conversation's brilliant. And then Hale, of course, goes on to tell Unser, obviously, that Stall setting up Opie as the rat. Then, of course, Clace like tells Tig to go and deal with Opie as they leave the party. Then, of course, Donna and Opie switch vehicles. But as they all leave, Unser then shows up. He raps on the door. Clay comes out for a few minutes. Unser's like, "Well, just in case you're having any doubts about your loyalty, Opie ain't the rat. Turns out it's a witness, and it's going to be revealed tomorrow. But it's definitely not Opie." And then Clay's face just drops, his arse completely and utterly collapses. And he's like, "Oh, that's all right, Unser. I was never going to kill Opie, brother." Unser pulls out of the driveway. Clay's on the speed dial trying to get Tig. It's no happening. But in terms of should Hale have told Unser sooner, like, of course, everyone's voting yes because Donna died, Opie's wife, you know, and like he could have prevented that. But at the same time, you've got to look at it from Hale's point of view. He's Captain America. He's like the most legit police officer you're probably gonna get in the Sons of Anarchy universe. Like, he literally I know he kind of sides with Sobel and does he actually take money from him? I don't think he does. But you know, like Roosevelt was pretty legit, but he did some dirty stuff. You know, like Hale didn't really do that. You know, he played as like, you know, Roosevelt. attacks the clubhouse with like the fire axe and shit like that. Rams like the sons off the roads, fucking decks, chibs, stuff like that. And did some shite with the juice especially. But with Hale, he never done anything like that. And you know what? I feel like Hale was just trying to be a good cop, but eventually he's like, fuck it, I'm not letting Opie get killed over this because it's not right. And he said, I mean, and not necessarily Opie, someone innocent could get killed. And he told Unser, and Unser's like, I'll tell Clay. But sadly, it was too late. Tig ended up killing Donna by mistake. Then Hale ended up decking Agent Ricks, I believe it was, at Donna's murder scene. So yeah, guys, that is it. Hale, he probably should have told her sooner, but I can't really blame the guy for not telling Unser sooner. But anyway, guys, till next time, peace.
Following Entertainment back with another epic Fury video today with Sons of Anarchy Season 2. We're looking at episode 11 of Season 2 and it is Service. I'm going to use a wee service here. Second time I've used that, but guess what? I'm going to use it. And the question is today, what if Tig didn't reveal the truth to Opie? Or expose the truth, expose the lies. Opie, of course, did get MVP recently. He's been doing good, that episode where he does find out about Donna, the fact that Clay and Tig conspired to kill him and accidentally killed his wife. But then Tig, of course, butting in saying, I know I'm the one that pulled the trigger, but Stahl's the one that really killed Donna. Shit! He's going after Stahl! Damn it! Then you get Piney looking at Clay like he shot himself. Bobby's like, this is some deep shit, brother. All that good stuff is righty, but we've got to look at the question at hand here for the video, and what if Tig didn't tell him? Because of course at the time, the club had found out about Gemma's rape, and Clay and Jax had reunited to bring down Lone and all that good stuff, which it seemed like they were much better terms, right? It's not like, I'm not being funny. Of course they were butting heads, and Donna's death had a massive part to do with that, but you could clearly already see before this point, even in the episode, that Jax and Clay were on good terms. It's not like this reveal that it was out in the open and it, made them go closer. If anything, the only thing it really did was open Opie's eyes, and, it got a lot of weight off Clay and Tig's shoulders, and it basically got Opie back in Jax's corner. But what would have happened if this never happened? Would Jax have told Opie, or would Piney have told Opie? Because Jax has rejoined the club, right? Clay and Jax are on better terms, and the whole story arc you've kind of got this season of Jax, he's going to try and, bring down Clay, like, and Piney's backed that. The fact that they're on good terms, I know Jax does say to Opie as well, but Opie asks Jax, how do we unmake him? And he's like, we've got to unmake him together. Me and you, we're the future, blah, 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 that good stuff. Would Piney have just ended up telling Opie? Eventually. But when would the best time have been to tell Opie? Personally, would Jax, since him and Clay are on good terms after the whole Gemma thing, they're united, would he have went to Clay and went, I think we've got to come clean. We've got to tell Opie the truth, even though, like Jax did the murder. Or would it literally have just been kept a dirty secret and it would have been kept a lie this entire time? Because at the end of the day, Piney did say to Jax that Clay slaughtered my daughter-in-law by mistake after trying to kill my son. I'm depending on you to make this right. What was making it right? Exposing the truth and like pinning Tig and Clay and getting them out the club. What was Piney's endgame for that? I don't really get what his endgame was, but at the end of the day, it got found out, and Opie just wanted to brush it under the carpet and for it to be forgotten about because it was a big, massive mistake. And Opie, he lived for the club. He eventually dies for the club. And personally, whether he found out this way or another way, I think the aftermath would have been the same. It just would have been a bit delayed. And it would have been interesting. I think the more interesting part for me is personally how it would have been revealed. Who would have told him? Because if it's not Tig, Clay's got enough secrets to bury the Titanic. He does not need to tell anybody his business. What a secret Clay Morrow has. Gemma knows, she's not going to tell him. It would have been between Jax and Piney, and personally, I just don't really see why Piney would have done it, because we see Piney's actions in this episode of him trying to kill Clay, so Opie didn't do it, and therefore Opie would have met Mr. Mayhem and shit like that. But then again, it's a weird one if we're going to make it fit in that. Like, say Opie or Piney killed Clay, and then the club has got the matters of, well, Clay put in motion to kill Opie behind the club's back and killed Donna. would the club really green light Opie to lose his patch and kill him? Because, like, they killed Opie's wife. But that's a fid for a different day, folks. This is what if Tig didn't tell him. Personally, I don't think it would have ever come out, but if it were to come out, I think Jackie Boy would have been the one to tell Opie. So that's it, guys, for Fog Entertainment. I want you to leave your thoughts down below. Vote on all the polls. We've only 2 more episodes of Season 2 to come on Monday and Tuesday. Moral Mondays until our Tuesdays. So make sure you check out that good stuff. And for Season 3, we might move the days. We might do Wednesdays, but she's no in Season 3. Is anyone else beginning with a W that I can't think of? Or Friday. Who begins with F? Frankie Fridays. There's just a lot of S's, you know. You've got Saturday, Sunday, and then you've got 2 T's, so there's not enough a lot you can work with, folks. But anyway, pishy, piney Sundays. But until next time, peace. Fog Entertainment back again with another video, and we're looking at the greatest father and son duo known to man, or are we not? Because we're looking at episode 7 of season 2 of Sons of Anarchy, and we're looking at Gillard. Of course, basically, all the charter are in jail. You know, you've Juice, you've Tig, you've Happy, you've Bobby, you've Jax, you've Clay. So there are 6 members in jail for the hit on Sobel at the Kamara Christian Centre. So yeah, they're all in jail. Opie tried to chase after Winston, so he's the only real reason why he's not there. Chibs is blown up, and then with a guy with an oxygen tank by the name of Piney. Of course, in prison, Clay, Sam Crow, whatever, they're tasked with a few things in order to gain protection inside. One of them is, of course, basically use juice bait in order to get to one of the informants inside. And the outside, they have to kill a tranny drug dealer, and Opie is tasked with this. He's the only guy outside. It kind of goes sideways when Trammell gets shot in the chest by this tranny, and of course then Opie is tasked with that. And yeah, he's a one-man band. But there really is a question here. Why was Opie left to deal with all of Sam Crow's problems, considering the fact that his actual father, was outside, right? And you could say this is a plot hole from Sons, right? And you could. If anyone's going to honestly argue and say it is, I'm not going to dispute it, right? But see, at the end of the day, there's so many times throughout the show when something happens and Piney just disappears for like a couple of episodes. Because see, when Chibs gets blown up, he basically just goes to the cabin and he has like a 3-day bender. So, you know, it's not like they completely just rip the character off, because what it is would probably, the only way to actually get in contact with Piney would have, Opie would have actually had to drive up to him and, you know, confront him that way. But of course, he couldn't, because he was busy doing and charming, handling business. But I think it really does beg the question of, he left his son in the lurch. Alright, he probably didn't know because he's pissed and obviously wasn't aware that, hey, everyone is arrested and all that good stuff. But, you know, when Sam Crow got out, I think there should have been a thought about Piney's fucking commitment to the club. You know, the club's all in jail. Opie's a one-man band. It's his own son. Regardless if he didn't know or not, Piney's commitment has got to be questioned here. At this point, he's kind of just, I don't know, he's like a skeleton in a patch, because he's not doing an awful lot. I mean, he can preach to Jax about how he rode his limit for 10 years just so he could hand over the VP patch to Jackson Taylor. But again, I'm not really buying that too much, troops. But yeah, personally, I think Piney completely jobbed Opie out. And yeah, we never really see it throughout the show. Like, if you're actually thinking about other characters, members that, you know, you could say jobbed at the club, it was all like because, you know, they did a bad thing. Well, with Piney, it's just complete negligence. Negligence. I can't pronounce that word. Negligence. That is the word we're going for. I just completely developed a stutter like Piney, high on tequila, full of the oxygen. Could not spit that word out for the life of me. But anyway, troops, that is it. Piney, personally, I think he should have been put out the club. We discussed it in the episode 7 review. And guess what, guys?
Morrow Mondays, Teller Tuesdays, returning to your TV screens next week. Tune in for it. But until next time, Piney, you should have met Mr. Mayhem, son.
But I know in my lifetime I will be.
I'll see you later, brother.
Welcome back to Fog Entertainment, guys, and this video here is What If Opie Left Charming. We've had a few video ideas from multiple people, but there's one guy in particular, and that is James Tonner. He gave loads of things about, like, how would you write the first 9, how would you write the sequel as well. So there'll be a lot of vids coming up. I think when mine's currently on, we'll just try and delay that till the off season, because of course when mine's ends, I mean, you're literally waiting like 9-10 months on the next season. Probably more, to be honest, especially if it's the final season and they're gonna like add episodes or something, so that'll be interesting to see. I've got a deadly collarbone, feels like it's about to fall off, but anyway, regardless, here is the title of today's video: What If Opie Left Charming. Now this would be referring, I mean, I guess the only time he could have left was season 1. Like early on, Donna was pushing him to leave, and the other time was when Stahl was like, right, you can leave by ratting. But we're going to do just him leaving clean, so to speak. It's early season 1. He's not long out of jail. The club give him the green light. He's allowed to go. He takes Donna and the 2 kids that he's getting to know because he's just out of jail with him. And he lives the life that Jax very well could have lived. Now, I mean, in terms of what would have happened if this happened, I mean, in terms of Opie, like, it's not like he's gonna leave Sam Crow, leave Charming, go live in fucking, I don't know, Ohio or something, right? And he's gonna turn into that mad bastard. Of course, he's Opie, loyal to the end. He'd never leave. Like he said to Jax, then anything else would be a lie. But I think the intriguing thing about this is what would happen without Opie and Sons from season 1. Now, of course, Donna would never have been killed, which therefore that season 1 storyline would have been hanged. The whole Jax Clay beef would have practically been non-existent. Going into like season 2 and 3, Opie, I mean, I'm not saying Opie doesn't play a major part, but you know, he doesn't have like I mean, he kills Stahl, of course, and the whole storyline with Stahl would practically be non-existent because there wouldn't have been no Donna to kill, but it probably would have ended up being somewhere else. But I think where the stuff turns up the heat is season 4, because without Opie, does the drug folk pass? You know, and also Opie didn't go to jail in the whole Sobel hit, so they would have had to put it in one more November, essentially, for that. So it'll be interesting to see how that would have went down. The drugs, would they pass? Because essentially, if you get Opie, you got Miles, which I always found weird. Was Miles just up Opie's ass or something? Must have been a sponsor that way. But you know, would the same thing have happened though? Would Clay have still killed Piney if Opie wasn't there? Because you know, if the drugs don't pass, maybe Piney doesn't find out about that shit. But also, you can argue if Opie leaves early, Jax potentially that could have pushed him to leave Charming as well. So you know, intriguing there. But the most intriguing part is if Clay doesn't kill Piney, then that hang with Opie shooting Clay doesn't happen, and they never pin it on Black. Tig never goes after Veronica Pope. Well, Leroy ends up killing Veronica Pope, and then Black decided to fucking wipe out Sam Crow by putting a few members in jail, offing one of them, keeping Tig forever. But then Jax works that deal out, gets one, kill Opie, and then brings out Tig. So I mean, say that all the exact same stuff happens, even though I doubt they'd ended up in jail because they would never went after, because Opie would never have shot Clay. But say someone else shot Clay and they're like, fuck it, like Piney shoots Clay and then they blame it on Black, and they end up in jail, and it's just fucking Chibs, Jax, and Tig, and Tig has to stay alive, so it's Jax choosing between him and his sergeant. Honestly, I reckon Jax would have done the same thing. Would Chibs have stepped in because Opie wasn't there? Well, he didn't when there was 4 of them, and I think it was more shock because Tig and Chibs just found out the whole plan, but Opie was already aware of what happened in the cell and had time to process it, and Opie had already checked out since Donna died, to quote the words of Jackson Nathaniel Teller. So if you look at it from all those point of views, guys, what would happen if Opie left Charming? A shit ton would have happened. A shit ton would have changed. But guess what? He didn't. It's all theory. But we like these vids on Fog Entertainment. I actually love discussing shit like that. Just shows you, like, all this great stuff. All that's them because they put it in the cartel. If Jax doesn't save Leroy from Galindo, there's no one to pin the attack. They've just pinned the attack on Clay and Sonora or something, or the mines, instead of Black. So yeah, it's all intriguing stuff, guys. But that's what would have happened if Opie left Charmin. A shit ton different.
And I will not let my future go on without the help of my soul.
Today on Fog Entertainment's magical book of theories, we are looking at what if Opie Winston killed Clay Morrow. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Fog, E to the N to the T. And then spell the rest of entertainment at your own will. But of course we are looking at the end of season 4. We're looking at Clay Morrow being confronted by Opie. You're gonna die at the gavel. In this instance, he does die. Opie, 1, 2. How many ever shots hit Clay? 1, 2. Buckle my shoe. Shoot Clay Morrow in the lungs. Big man. Clay's dead, right? Jax can still shoot Opie and knock him out if that really is necessary. But today, it's what if Opie killed Clay. And what would have happened? What would the repercussions have meant? Would Opie have met a mayhem foot? You bet your bottom dollar he would have found out about the mayhem foot. Well, but the question is, right? Say Clay actually just died. What does it change? Because, Tig still goes after the Niners. I guess Clay's the guy that said, blame it on Black. Now, if he's dead before he says that, physics, etc., you can't necessarily say something if you're dead. So therefore, you can't blame it on Black. And if you can't blame it on Black, then Tig's got no real motive. Maybe without that, Jax probably would have just blamed it on the Mexicans, and maybe Tig, would have took a drive down the Sonora territory and started wiping out Lobo, the remaining Lobo Sonora members down there. Maybe. It's not the craziest thing we've ever heard in this show. Never will be. There's some crazy shit in Sons of Anarchy. But what I think would have happened is, I think the truth would eventually have came out. Because Jax didn't necessarily want to go along with the Black thing, but he ended up doing it. And obviously, it kind of spiraled things out of control. But once Jax finds out the truth and he doesn't need to keep Clay alive because guess what, he's dead, he would probably just have brought it to the club immediately. It would have been like an emergency chapel, and probably at the end of season 4 he would have said that. But the problem with that is the cartel needed Clay alive in order to keep Galen happy, in order to flood the guns in. And if they realised that Galen wasn't going to do this, that would not have been good. But, I know for like season 4 onwards, it seems like it's the Galen show over in Ireland, right? But maybe Jax could have persuaded Rourke or someone else to be like, no, this deal needs to happen, and you need to make sure Galen gets on board, etc. Because I like Galen, but like, where was he the first couple of seasons, and all of a sudden he's in season 4 and he thinks he's the shot caller, he's an IRA shot caller, Good Jack's been persuaded by that, but if Opie killed Clay, he would have got a mayhem vote. I think automatically it wouldn't have passed. But it is killing another member, so you have to vote it no matter what. Even Tig being pissed off that Opie killed Clay. I think once it came out that Clay had killed Piney, tried to kill Tara, and he already knew he did the Gemma. I think the hatred for Opie in the heat of the moment might have disappeared. But then, guys, the club would have went down because they wouldn't have been able to fulfill the cartel's demand, because the Irish would have been jobbing them out left, right and centre. But, would the Irish have been hard done by? Would the club have felt hard done by? At the end of the day, Clay promised Galen that any deal you do, buddy, it's going to run through me, and me only. So, when that goes tits up, by God, we've got big issues. And the big issues are CIA crippling the club, Rico crippling the club. It's not exactly ideal. But anyway, guys, leave your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, Fog Entertainment signing out. Give me a hell yeah! Yeah. Today it's a simple question. Jax wanted Opie as president, while Clay wanted Bobby. But who's your pick? Welcome back to Fog Entertainment. This is Sons of Anarchy Season 4, and it's another theory. It's a belter of a theory, guys. We had 506 votes. 35% of voted for Bobby, and 65% of voted for Opie. You know what? I'm actually kind of in a disbelief here that Opie has won by so many votes. I am. I thought so many people would have went with Bobby. Now I get it. People might prefer Opie as a character. I think most people probably would. You know, the fan favourite. Not that Bobby wasn't, but I think a lot of people hold Opie a wee bit more closer to their hearts, so to speak. So in that regard, you can absolutely see why. Absolutely why this vote would go to Bobby, no, Opie, sorry. But at the same time, you know, it is to do with the main thing of, you guessed it, brother, leadership, presidentship, brother. So at this point, what do you do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You factor everything into the bargain. Bobby, great VP, great. I think he's shown great leadership, even though he never actually held president. Now, I guess you could say there was periods where he was acting president, but for me, who'd be the best option? I'd say Bobby. I would say Bobby. But I think it's close. I never thought Opie could lead, but on this rewatch of Sons, I mean, I've watched Sons probably at least like 12 times, I'd say. Could be even more. I lost count. But Opie led the club well while everyone was inside. I mean, Clay even praised him, man. Clay even praised him when they got out of jail. But here he is, calling the guy a jobber. Opie's not ready to lead this club, Jackie boy. So yeah, kind of going against the word of Jax to make Opie president. But you know, Clay's his own man. He can do what he wants. But for me, I think Bobby is the correct choice. But I wouldn't discount Opie to lead. He's good. And for me, Bobby would be the choice. But for you guys, the majority, pretty much 2/3 of you, did want Opie to be the president. But it's time to dive into your comments. Miguel Mayika says, Opie didn't have leadership qualities. 65 of y'all are picking with your hearts. He had leadership. He had the ability to leadership, and you know, he had a decent amount of qualities for it, but he was nowhere near Bobby. And I think that's the difference maker here. But I'm not saying that Opie couldn't lead. I think this key's trying to say Opie couldn't, but I think he could. But Bobby is still the better choice. Tries Away said, Bobby is a better choice, been around longer, wiser, knows his shit and is very smart. I love Opie, he was a great son, but he was very explosive and his rage consumed him. It did. No one's denying that, but I would have liked to have seen most other club members if what happened to him happened to them. Like, you lose your wife, then you, like, the whole thing's a lie. You find out it's the club instead of some Mexican gangbanger. Then your dad dies. You think it's Lobo Sonora, but then you find out it's Clay. Well, you knew it was Clay anyway. But yeah, anyway, like that whole lie's under wraps. He has to keep that way, and he can't, you know, go against the club. And then he ends up sacrificing himself for the club. His rage did consume him, but a lot of characters didn't go through his pain. Now, to be fair, the Sons, they lost Opie, and Bobby was able to hold on to his rage. He didn't want to destroy the relationship with the Grim Bastards, but Jack's seen that as something that had to be done in order to get revenge. But then again, you didn't see the pleasure in that animal's face when he caved in Opie's skull. We did. Bobby didn't see it, and we certainly did as viewers. Moving in though to typically Johnny. Bobby definitely. He has the experience, is already in a high position, has the brains to do it. I see Opie more as a VP. Yeah, I agree with Opie more as a VP, but then like what happens to like Chibs? You know, like what happens to him? What would have happened to Chibby boy? Shades 1159, but I guess in season 4 Chibs wasn't really. He does get made vice president eventually, doesn't he? 1159, Bobby is the better choice, despite the fact I like Opie more. This is a classic example of brain versus heart, and yeah, I think it's been dubbed that. Just Bam 2409 says fucking facts. So you guys are in agreement here that this is the way it should be. This is the way it should be. Then we got Jose Ferruso 7809 says, plus Opie gets knocked out real quick in season 2 by Mayan on the floor and shot in the arm and hit one time by Jackson, knocked out. I mean, that's true, right? But I mean, look at how many times Bobby gets shot and was out of action. Now, to be fair, he pretty much no-sold them, but there was loads of times in Sons where Opie held his own and battered a lot of people. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, yeah, he got knocked out by a Mayan in season 2, I get that. But most people who get cracked in the back of the head get knocked out. I mean, Frankie Diamond's knocked out Chibs. You know, does that make Chibs pish? And I get it, he gets shot in the arm by Jax. But to be fair, you know, he gets shot in the hand, the arm region by Jax, and then Jax fucking went up and smashed him over the head. I mean, most people would get knocked out for that. Let's not kid ourselves. Bridget Connor says, one word, Elvis. Sam Crow is the mother charter of a global outlaw motorcycle club. That Redwood President Flash means something, and it can't be worn by someone who cosplays Elvis, whether that be past or present. Imagine if Alvarez was a Anarchy singer on weekends. His presence would feel diminished, and I feel it hard to believe that the Suns would be able to take him seriously. Yeah, that's a very valid point, but by the later seasons, like, Bobby didn't really whip out the Elvis costume, and I think if he was president, he wouldn't do that either, to be honest. I mean, we just had a show called The Mayans, if you're aware, and Bishop was seen in a fest in the world's smallest boxers getting out of a shower like fucking 10 times an episode. He was a midget. The guy was like 3'9". What's worse, being like a 3'9" midget with a serious little guy problem, or being a fat guy that cosplays as Elvis? The question is there, and you guys have to answer it. But until next time, troops, that is the answer you've all been waiting for. Seems like it's Opie in the poll, but Bobby in the comments. So until next time, peace.
What if Opie didn't punch Lieutenant Roosevelt? Welcome back, guys, to Sons of Anarchy, Season 5 Theories. It's Episode 2, and we're looking at the end where Chibs, Tig, and Jackie Boy are all getting arrested, but Opie had to stand in, and he had to get what was right, damn it. And what was right was he had to go to jail. He knew it was looking bad for Sam Crow, and Opie did what any loyal brother should be doing in the MC, and that's stepping up the task, and he did that. He gave Roosevelt a right hook, because he knew it would give him a one-way ticket into jail with Sam Crow. And probably part of him wanted to die, but here, dying, saving the Suns, it was a good option for Opie. But anyway, put up 4 options. What would have happened if he didn't punch him? Last place is he returns to the club and spares Clay Morrow. Could have happened, because if he doesn't punch Roosevelt, he's there with his cut on. He probably would have went to the table, and Clay would have been at that table. That would have been pretty awkward. Third last, we've got Tig Rots inside, coming in with a whopping 11%, because of course if he punches Roosevelt, he might not die inside, and Jax might not be able to sweeten the deal. In second place, we returns to the club and kills Clay, which is a very realistic option, because Jax ain't there to stop him. Chibs and Tig are also inside. The club's at its weakest. Clay does have the backing of the Nomads, but I've got a feeling that Opie Winston would go right through all the Nomads. And then in first place, we've got Jax sacrificed himself, because of course, inside, Jax went to sacrifice himself, but Opie put the hand across him. No, it's me, brother. And he's the one that ended up doing it. Now, realistically, all of these could happen, apart from the first 2 options can't really both happen, because he can't kill Clay or spare him. It has to be one or the other, which some people have pointed out. But you know what, guys, these theories, they're for fun. What do you think would have happened if Opie didn't punch Roosevelt? I think the bottom 2, because I don't think he returns to the club, honestly. I think Opie's done. But then, it's a what-if scenario. I think it only ever plays out with Opie doing what he did. I don't think he would have let Sam Crow go inside without doing that. But anyway, let's see what the comments say. Homo David says, Jack sacrifices himself, Tig rots in prison, and it's a toss-up between the top 2. So, in that order, that's all that could have happened according to Homo David. Otto WW289 says, I think Chibs would die in prison because Pope wanted Tig alive to be beaten up, and Jax, since he wanted to make business with him. Yeah. True. I guess we wouldn't really know what would have happened if Jax were in that room. Maybe I don't think the commander didn't have the knowledge. I don't think the commander had the knowledge that Tig had the rot inside, and that Jax had the pick. I mean, I guess Jax still could have died. It just would have really depended on if Bobby or whoever would have been the potential prez would have wanted to make those dealings. But yeah, I agree with that. Up next. The wee rat says at least 3 options could happen at once, lol. And Phoenix says they're Muppets. Well, guess what, big man? We're no Muppets. We're keeping Sons of Anarchy alive in the year 2024. And anyone doing that, in my eyes, is a good egg. We're not scrambled. We're not fried. We're not a bad egg. We're not poached. We're a great wee egg. Alright? We're Fog Entertainment, riding the Reaper into the next generation. And hopefully we get it really soon. Anyway, We've got all that crazy stuff, and then we've got Cali Renegade saying most random ass questions ever. Well, you know what? It's a big what if, because if Opie doesn't punch Roosevelt, man, crazy things could happen. And what do I think would happen? Like I said, I think Jax dies, sacrifices himself, and Tig rots, but Opie doesn't return to the club. So it's kind of a mixture of all of them, but kind of without the top two. But anyway, guys, leave your thoughts down below, and peace.
Can Frankie stop Opie like a lead pipe, or will Mr. Winston hit the jackpot and find all the diamonds? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. It's another Sons of Anarchy theory, and this one is basically a who's win, so to speak. You've got Frankie Diamonds, you've got Opie Winston, but why are two Sam Crow members going to battle? Well, if you remember, Frankie threatened to beat Opie up, although he did kind of do it behind his back. He threatened to beat him up if he ever returned to the clubhouse without his patch on. Now, I find it funny that Frankie is taking offence to Opie coming in without a patch, yet this guy is working behind the majority of the club's back with Clay and the other two nomads to try and take down Jax and get Jax ousted out of the gavel seat. But whatever, Frankie.
President seat, big man.
You do you.
You do you,
Well,
Frankie.
hold on, the gavel seat. If you sit in that seat, you hold the gavel. So I'm going to stand by that.
It is keen to point out this is a deleted scene, and I think with most deleted scenes this season, we'll try and turn them into a poll so we can talk about them a bit more. Is that fair to say?
Yes, or maybe even show the deleted scenes. We could maybe do that.
Well, not all of it.
But don't strike us down, buddy. But
Show about a 10-second clip yet.
it's really annoying when some deleted scenes you think really should have been added to the show, but they don't do it. And I think this is one of them. Because the Nomads, I think you need something to just, get us involved, get us infested with them a little bit. At the moment, they haven't really done anything other than sit around the table. And Frankie Diamonds looked tough here. See, when I seen Frankie Diamonds threaten Opie, I was like, wow, this is a serious player.
Yeah, and I think it's season 3 when you've got Chibs thanking Juice for looking after his family, then he's talking about coming back to visit them. Why is that deleted?
Yeah, because then, I also think that helps when you see later how Chibs responds to Juice when he finds out that he's essentially, doing drugs and ratting on the club. With that deleted scene, it does kind of take away a little bit of the bond, I think, that Chibs and Juice had, but whatever. We're here to talk
And when
about...
we say deleted scenes, it's more like these are extended episodes, like DVD versions, like US versions sort of things. But for me, I think shows should just have one version and that's it.
Yeah, I don't like it how there's some scene, you got an extra scene here, or deleted scene here, or this episode runs 102 minutes, but if you buy the DVD, it runs 109.
But not only does this show the importance of more Nomad stuff, but it also shows you Opie turning up, wanting to know what's happened with the guys. Are they all right? Because Roosevelt paid them a visit that morning.
It shows you that Opie actually cares, because
rather than just Clay shows up at his house while he's cutting fucking wood.
Yeah, without this, you think that Opie's just went AWOL.
AWOL, but so who would win? Frankie Diamonds or Opie? I like Frankie. But my money would be on Opie.
My money would be on Opie too, but what I would say is I think my money would be on Opie against most of the club, maybe all of the club. So this is by no means disrespect to Frankie Diamonds. I certainly would put Frankie Diamonds the favourite against quite a few club members, but Opie's not one of them. So
yeah, and you know what? When it comes to polls, this is quite
unanimous almost.
Aye.
I mean, 95-5. It doesn't really get much wider than this.
This is Clay's mayhem vote, and then Bobby at the end just goes,
No. Nay.
No,
Doesn't work for me.
I made a deal with him. Sorry, I'm a nay. Instead of, I don't trust him. But let's look at the comments. Oh, I love a long comment. So do you. So you take it away.
Heavy Metal Thunder said, Opie, no doubt in my mind, Frankie would be poking a grizzly bear, not just because Opie was bigger in size, but Opie was still grieving at the time over the loss of Donna, and I think he would take out his anger on Frankie. And Opie doesn't care at the point, and it would only be an excuse. Opie needed to do some damage. This reminds me of the quote, the scariest person in the room isn't the loudest, it's the quiet ones. I like that quote, I do dig it, but I don't necessarily think Opie was still grieving over... I'm not saying that he wasn't grieving over Donna.
I guess Clay killing Piney reopened the wound.
I think losing Donna was always hurting Opie. I don't think he ever got over it. But at this point, I think it was more the death of Piney that was bothering him.
Aye,
and Jax's betrayal.
And Clay's got rid of it.
And the fact that Clay's at the table and he's not.
Aye.
I think there was a lot of things coming into factor here. I don't necessarily think it was Donna. I think he had a constant grief for Donna, but at this point in time, I don't think his heart was
Yeah, he's not
necessarily...
going to punch Frankie, be like, Donna Winston. No, but I like your comment.
I agree with the
nonetheless.
comment, but I would have replaced Donna with Piney.
Yep, let's see here. Bridget Connor. Opie was too much of a physical presence for most people, if not all characters, in the S way to handle one-on-one. I know early on he gets into a fight with Kyle off screen, and based off the aftermath, it didn't appear to be a completely one-sided battering, despite Opie having the upper hand in the fight, but that felt more of a writing blunder to me. I actually agree with that. See that fight he has with Kyle?
Yeah, it makes you believe it's like 50-50.
I hope he's got a few cuts. Here, maybe it's a case of Opie was like, fucking hit me then. Like he was openly wanting Kyle to fight back, because Opie's not a little bitch. He didn't want to just beat a guy up and batter him to a pulp, even though he made him do 5 years. But yeah, but then, if you look at season 1, Opie, his hair's not as long. He grew it out a wee bit, and maybe he grew a bit of fucking strength. His wife wasn't dead at that point.
Yeah, no,
So according
definitely.
to Heavy Metal, that's when he gained the high win percentage.
Here, maybe he would have battered the shit out of Frankie because he was still annoyed that Kyle set him up.
Potentially.
Maybe he's still grieving over Kyle's betrayal.
Yeah. Rhea Poop says, pissed off Opie is OP. OP.
OP is OP. I like it. That's worth a heart.
It is.
Who are we kidding? We're giving you his all hearts.
What did I do to deserve this? Frankie Golden Glove semi-professional boxer in real life. Oh, that's fucking real life, son. Clay in real life wouldn't touch a gun. This show he loves the gun.
Clay in real life, can they ride a bike for God's sake? So he'd hardly be the president of a club.
Charlie Hunnam's some English guy from Newcastle in real life.
Do you reckon that Clay would be allowed to prospect and just ride the fan everywhere?
In real life?
No, and then...
Season 5?
Aye, if he couldn't... No, and if he couldn't ride... Let's say he couldn't ride, do you reckon they'd let you join as a prospect and keep you there for life? Or would they be like, nah, if you can't ride, then what are you even doing here?
Nah, what are you even doing here? Come on.
That's true.
Know your role. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave this. Opie would have absolutely wiped the floor with Frankie. Plots for him, strength, age, everything's for him. I don't see how Frankie wins unless
Yeah.
it's 3-on-1 with the Nomads.
True, I mean, maybe he could tag in, peg the leg or something.
Opie would probably punt his peg leg into Rose head.
What if Opie got cracked in the back of the skull, though, with the peg leg?
That could be the difference maker.
That could do some lead pipe damage.
It could. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. And until next time, peace.
Did Opie overreact to Lila being on birth control pills? Welcome back to Sons of Anarchy here on Fog Entertainment. It's a season 4 theory. We're going to discuss it. Thank you guys so much. 723 votes. The love for SOA will never die, even if the love for the Mayans has died. But anyway, we've got 3 options. We've got no. We've got the Hoff does what the Hoff does. Well, no, the Hoff does what the Hoff wants. Then we've got yes. So what do I think? I think Opie did overreact. I think a simple conversation would have handled this, right? I, for one, don't think Lila should be in that line of work. I think if Opie is serious about wanting to marry her and she wants kids, he wants kids with her, he should have said, right, you're not in that line of work. Stops. I'm making good money with the club. We're in the cartel. That was his first problem, though. He said we're all good with the Russians and he kept her out of the loop like he did with Donna, and it gets people killed. He needs to tell them the fucking truth. Big man. So for me, he absolutely overreacted. Cheating is never the answer. Alright, well, I mean, I say cheating's never the answer. If you get cheated on, then you can maybe say it's the answer, but I think the answer if you get cheated on is probably to break up with him, is the answer. But here, was it worthy of getting a divorce? No, I don't think it was. It's not, but what was, I think, worthy of the divorce was the fact that she got an abortion. I think that's worthy of a divorce without his knowledge. But I don't think being on the pill really warrants that. So you guys, though, have voted in last place. The Hoff does what the Hoff wants. It's kind of just a comedy thrown in there. Because, you know, David Hasselhoff doesn't appear often in this show, so you might as well fire him in to a poll. 20% you guys think that. 27% you guys think no, Opie didn't overreact. Then the whopping majority, I'll say whopping, it's a decent majority. More than half of you think that he did overreact, with 53% of the vote. We'll get 22 comments to get stuck into. So let's look at it, man. Look at Bridget Connor saying, damn, it's a long one. Lila should have just told Opie that she didn't want kids. Probably a good conversation to have prior to getting married. Yep.
Even if she did want kids and found herself pregnant, could Opie have known that the baby was his without a DNA test? I thought the Laurie, Rick and Shane situation was messy, but imagine if Laurie had been sleeping with Glenn, Daryl, Merle, T-Dog, Jim, Morales, Ed, hell, even maybe Herschel and Jenner. What a shit show. I agree with that. Like, Opie's excuse for getting her, for getting her pregnant was also to get her out of the line of work. Because he just didn't really have... I mean, Otto, I keep calling him Otto. Opie's a big guy. But it seemed when it came to Lyle, he just didn't have the fucking balls to say, here, you're not doing this job anymore. And he's like, well, you know what? If she's pregnant, then she can't really do the job anymore. What would have stopped Lyle? Well, I mean, she was pregnant and she was doing the job before she got the abortion, so come on. Play the game, son. Play the game, Opie. Shade says, I mean, I get him being upset over it, but of course his action was way too extreme. How about we try arguing with words first before we cheat with a porn star that your wife knows and works with? If you wanted to end the marriage because of it, then there are different ways to go about it as well. Absolutely. Chris Rambo says, of course he overreacted. He's only human just like anyone else. I think we all overreact in certain situations regardless of who's in the wrong. Big Opie. Opie. Overreacting. Keno says, nah. Damn. James Toner says, Lila may be sweet, kind and nice, porn star with a heart of gold, but she should have told Opie. Opie still shouldn't have cheated on Lila with that I'm a bitch. Opie should have been thankful that he managed to find love after Donna's tragic death, but I don't think he was okay with Lila being in front of the camera. I certainly wouldn't if my girl was doing porn, even though I love porn. I'm surprised later on SOA, Jackson and Lila didn't sleep together with the deaths of Tara and Opie. You can tell they really liked each other. It would have been interestingly satisfying to see Jack sleeping or having sex with Lila. Surely after Opie and Tara's death, Jax and Lila would have used each other's shoulders to cry on. True, but I think Jax just loved Opie too much to even ever remotely think about doing that. Like, I think even if Lila laid it on thick and, was like, I want some of that Jackie dick, I don't even think Jax would have did it. I think he cares that much about Opie. I don't think he would have done that, honestly. Would she have done it? Yeah. And that's not me just burying Lila. I just think Jax isn't like that. Joseph says, just pure communication all round. Keno, son, you're saying nah. What's nah about it? Francisco Gonzalez says, he started acting like Donna. He did. Acting like a little bitch. Maybe Clay should put out another hit. Keno saying, nah. Keno, what is going on here? Yeah, a little selfish on his part. See, there's a nah here. Nah. Jesus Christ, X Films 2503 says, you're definitely a faggot liberal. Laughed my arse off. He didn't overreact at all. Damn. Peanut says, she shouldn't have told him that she didn't want a kid, but it was wrong for him to cheat on her. Absolutely. And then, we've replied to this. Straight up made no sense. Opie was supposed to be loyal to his wife when she was allowed to have sex with people. Yeah, it made absolutely no sense. I think the fact that Opie was okay with his wife doing porn was ridiculous. Absolutely it was. And got a lot of people arguing here. I mean, true, but you have to remember that she was doing that before they met. And as much as that is true, right, that's Opie's own problem. He should have nipped that in the bud. But here, we can argue about here, when did she have the job, whatever, but that's Opie's fault. He should have been telling her they want you doing this anything. And Diego Martinez says, yes, and the half thing. And the half thing is the half does what the half wants.